Well, thank you, Pamela. I'm honored to be here with you and on this important occasion and to see so many of you. And I appreciate what we're here about. And we really are kind of listening and learning and working together to help each other improve our own lives, those of our family and those of our community and certainly our state. I am honored to have the First Lady with me, the First Lady of my life. Here, and I can tell you that I've come to appreciate more and more the sacrifice of those who support us in politics, and you all know the value of family support and the help that you get. I was just reminded of that here not too long ago in a little more dramatic way as Jeanette and I went to her class reunion last year, and as we had an opportunity to kind of reminisce with some of her classmates. She grew up in Springville and is a Springville Red Devil. And as we met with different people, that had this one fellow that came over and said hi, and I talked to Jeanette, and they were kind of catching up on old times. And as I overheard the conversation, I could tell things hadn't been quite as well in his life as he'd hoped. He'd had some challenges, a little tattered around the edges, and economically he hadn't done too well. And anyways, he left and shook her hands. Jeanette leaned over to me and said, "That's the young man that I went to the senior prom with." We were quite an item in high school. And probably being a little caught up in my own self-importance, I said, "Well, I'll bet you're glad you married me, aren't you?" And she said, "Not really." If I'd have married him, he'd be the governor of Utah today. Anyway, thank you, Jeanette, for keeping me honorable. Seriously, again, I want to thank those, starting with Pamela and others, the members of the board, and that have got us together on this important subject. I think we all understand the impact it has on our community. Whether we have empirical data or not, we all have a sense that this is not a good thing. This is degrading. Pornography does impact us in a negative way. It's not uplifting. It doesn't help us with our spirituality. It doesn't help us in our relationships with our neighbors and our friends and our families. In fact, it's just the opposite. So again, I appreciate those who've got the courage and determination and the vision to bring us together and talk about these sensitive but important things here today. And just as importantly, I certainly want to thank you. Again, we have a great turnout here and people still coming in. I appreciate that you're willing to step up and participate as we try to improve our own situations and those that we love, our neighbors, our friends, and our families. Pornography is a growing scourge. Pamela gave you some numbers, but it's not just around the nation and other places. I think we view ourselves, I certainly do, as a very moral community, a great state, certainly in comparison to others, at the top of the list as far as good moral values, family values. But we have every evil here in Utah that's found in any inner city in America. And so, again, I think the growing awareness that we have of this scourge in Utah is important. Utah has one of the highest users of the keywords that access pornography on the internet. So we know what's happening. It's going on. We have high internet usage in Utah. And unfortunately, we have a younger population that's high-tech savvy that sometimes, innocently even, gets sucked into the scourge of pornography because of the easy access and the privacy that comes with internet usage. Many people tend to downplay, I think, the negative outcomes of pornography by saying, well, there's really not any statistical data. Where is the research? Does it really matter? I'm an adult. It doesn't bother me. I can withstand this issue. However, we know that there's a great deal more of scientific research that's occurring and has occurred that demonstrates the harmful effects of pornography. A year ago, a symposium held at Princeton University had many speakers from across the country that addressed this very issue and brought forth their own peer-reviewed research and their studies and the data that they'd found And now the Witherspoon Institute has in fact compiled that information and findings and given recommendations as far as what we can and should do in reaction to this growing evil in our society. And I would add that we're fortunate to have here today with us Mary Ann Layden. Where are you at, Mary Ann? Are you here? Right over. Stand up and just so we can show you. She's here with us, and she wrote a publication called The Social Cost of Pornography. Now, most all of us, particularly those of us in government, know that there is a social cost to bad behavior. We have cops on the street, we have prisons, we have health and human services because of bad behavior and bad decisions that occur in our life. And Mary Ann has written about the social costs of pornography. She'll be speaking at one of the breakouts here a little later on. You'll have an opportunity to hear from her personally. But I want to thank Mary Ann and her colleagues for the great work they're doing to further this fight on pornography. And if it would be okay, I'd like to just quote Mary Ann here as I finish up my comments. In her publication, she says this, quote, as noted throughout this statement, the famous 1964 Surgeon General's report on tobacco consumption is in many ways the inspiration and public health model of this project. That 1964 report summarized the evidence of its time as follows. Cigarette smoking is a hazard of sufficient importance in the United States to warrant appropriate remedial action. Likewise, the consumption of internet pornography on today's scale is a social and personal health hazard of sufficient importance in the United States to warrant appropriate remedial action. The triad of pornography consumption, dependency, and addiction is clearly not the only problem facing our society. However, it is a serious problem as well as an under-recognized one, which is why the signatories urge readers of all beliefs and all political persuasions to attend to the empirical record of its harms. Those who would ignore the record do so at the detriment of society, of the society is shaping, not only for the adults among us, but for those others who surely deserve to become adults in a world less glutted by pornographic imagery. I think Mary Ann says it very well for all of us. The importance of this conference is for us to learn, to understand, to see what we can do to improve, to give you the tools and us the tools necessary to go out and, in fact, make a difference in our communities and our societies. There's going to be a vast array of presentations here from experts that we have an opportunity to learn from and help us take that information back and improve our own lives and those of our family and our community. So again, I applaud all of you who are a part of this. It's an important issue that we're talking about here today. And for the future of Utah, to make sure we maintain this as a great place to live and a great place to raise families, this issue is something that we need to deal with in a very significant and important way. So thanks for everybody's attendance here. Thanks for those who've organized it. I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you.